Hello, thank you for watching the final video on geoprocessing for the police web app. You'll notice though that we are not actually on the web, we are actually working within the desktop version of ArcMap. The reason for this is Web 2.0, Web App 2.0 has not finalized development yet. And so we're just going to show you all the functionality locally, which will be available to you. And then with 2.0, you'll be able to do it online. So as you see, we've added some crime data, which is purple, some 2014 listing data, and Greensboro streets to this demonstration. And I'm only really going to highlight the functionality that does not work online. So the multi-ring buffer that does work online. I won't be covering this in this video. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say select by attributes. We're going to input, we're going to do 2014 listings. We're going to go and put it here in our demo folder, the output, and this is going to be 2014_4 because it's going to be foreclosures. And to do that, come here, click this SQL, get into the query builder, and this type of SA or type of sale is what this really is the most used one that I've used most frequently. And when you get unique values, this is the type of sale that the agents have denoted in the database system. So since we're interested in foreclosure, I'm going to do foreclosure REO bank. Click OK, click OK, have it run, and now it's added in. So let's make these really kind of stand out. So let's give it a wild color. Let's give it this bright green, neon green sort of color. So it really kind of stands out. So now you see where the foreclosures are. So the next thing we're going to do is work on density analysis, point density analysis. So let's do 2014 foreclosures. Again, go back to our demo folder, 2014 foreclosure density. Click OK. Click close. Let's get some of this point data off here. And now you can really see where a lot of the foreclosures in 2014 are happening, where they're clustering. So let's turn that off, and we're going to run two more point densities really quickly here. One's going to be on the theft from homes. So this will be theft density. Just take a second here. And let's shrink that up. So now you see where most of the home theft is occurring. Mostly along the east side of Greensboro. It has some correlation to where foreclosures are occurring. Let's turn that off and quickly do our last one here. 2014 listings. So we're just going to call this 2014 listing. Oop. Save. Okay. All right. So here's where a majority of the listings are in 2014. Now, understand that the crime data is covering a larger swath of time than the listings are, but really you won't see much of a difference if we were to break out 2014 crime for this particular home theft. It really follows along the same pattern. So let's turn that off for just a second, and we're going to go into reclassify, because when we do our analysis, we need to reclassify the information so it's all in the same values. And since this is on a scale of 9, I'm just breaking this up into thirds. And this is fairly finicky on the naming conventions. Like I said, this is probably too long. Yeah. So let's rename it list reclass. Spell that right. Let's click OK. All right. So now you see in a much more easy to understand where a majority of the listings are. These bright red areas followed by the yellow, and blue is just, I mean, obviously there are listings, but just not quite so many. So let's turn that off and do for the other two quickly. Let's do theft. And again, we're working in this scale of 3s. And we're just going to call this theft REC for reclass. Let's close this out. So most of the home thefts are really occurring on this east side. So just quickly, if we turn back on the listings and turn off the theft, you see that they're really not correlated at all. And then last but not least, let's do a reclass of the foreclosures. And you can pick whatever options you want in these value fields, including also reclassifying it to have fewer values. You don't have to have 9. I've just started working with that. It seems to have worked well for me. So let's go for REC for foreclosure reclassification. Now as you see, let's turn back on the theft and keep this foreclosure on. So when you look at the foreclosure and then look at the theft, there definitely is some correlation between the two of those. So let's just turn these two off, and we're going to get into the final parts of our functionality. And that's the raster calculator and the weighted overlay. So the first one I'm going to show is the raster calculator. And for what we're looking for, we need to do foreclosure reclass plus theft reclass plus list reclass. And let's get this a new name, and let's just call this demo ras calc. Save. And this is going to combine these reclassifications in just a raster calculator format. So it's just adding values up from the new values that we gave them to get the final answer. Let's click OK. Click close. And as you can see, let's change up the color scheme on this. Let's get a little different color scheme. That a majority, you can see where a majority of the crime, the totals of crime, listings, and foreclosures are all happening, where the hotspot areas for all of these things are. And this is probably the most useful for the police in terms of the information displayed. However, I've also given you the option to run a weighted overlay model. And we're going to add in list reclassification, theft reclassification, and foreclosure reclassification. Let's add all 3 of these in there. Let's set them to equal influence. Except really, let's not set them to equal influence, because really what's more important is where the crime is being committed. So let's put this at 50%. And you see we'll get an error message here. And let's say foreclosures is really probably, like a 30%. And listings at a 20%. Because really, we're seeing that correlation between theft and foreclosure, but not between listings. So let's put more influence on those. Let's rename this to demo weighted. Click OK. So here's, you can see that by using a weighted model, you're getting a little different output that's showing a little bit different and focusing, I think, more on where crime is showing up and foreclosures. And we designed this in such a way that you can run all of these separate from each other so that you can pick the variables that you want to focus on. We just focused on one variable, foreclosure, but obviously, and then home theft. However, with the baseline data and these models, you can run any kind of information that you want to feed through this, all the different variables that are available to you to come up with your own analysis. And that's sort of the beauty of what we're working on. That really sort of wraps up our demonstration for today. And you can see all the different options that you have available to you. And please keep an eye out for this functionality to be available in the Police Web App 2.0. Thank you.